Remember, we talked about the fact that we could build the sail in sections because it's computer design. Now that those patches are put on the reef point, we can now concentrate on putting in the full battens. This sail has full battens. Your sail may have normal battens, which are a little bit different construction. The instructions that accommodate your kit will tell you how to install those battens, and I'm sure we have other videos on that, but for now we're going to show you how we install full battens in a mainsail. The computer plotter system will label where each batten pocket will rest on the sail. You can see it here with that little arrow. We'll be installing a pocket for a batten here. This batten pocket for this sail will be 3 inches wide, so where the computer labeled for the batten pocket, we just mark lines with that label in the center, 3 inches in width, and then draw straight lines all the way down the sail. We only need one line here because obviously the dacron tape is 3 inches wide, so we'll just use that line as our reference line. We'll cut the dacron tape to size, giving a few extra inches. We'll need to do this at each batten location. You could always refer to the computer printout to determine the length to cut each dacron tape. We're going to move to the head now and show you the process all the way from the beginning to the end.
Okay, for this application, your measurements are on your paperwork, or you can go by the sail itself.
To fashion this pocket on this sail, we'll be using a 3-inch dacron tape on the bottom and a 2-inch dacron tape on the top. That will form the pocket for the batten.
Make it a little bit long.
Deb cuts off quite a bit of fabric here because she has plenty. Your kit may not, so we only recommend cutting it about 1 inch longer. Here's the batten points that have been labeled on your sail by our computer plotter system, and we've already labeled the line or drawn a line that's 1.5 inches away from that batten point. And she'll now take the 2-inch tape, which will be the top of the pocket, and labels it to 5.5 inches. Creates a crease at that 5.5 inch mark. We'll then take a strip of Velcro that's included in your kit, cut it to 5.5 inches, the same width as we created on that top pocket, and then we'll take it to the sewing machine and we'll sew a box X stitch. This is a straight stitch. Along the outer perimeter is a straight stitch, and in the center will be an X. We're going to speed it up here to show you the whole process. We're using a blue thread throughout this sail, mainly so that you can see it. Typically, sail kits come with white thread. And there you go. That's it. We'll now apply the 1/4 inch basting tape along the edge, the outer edge of the pocket, starting there where the 5.5 inch fold starts, all the way down its length to the other end. We'll do that on both sides. Now we'll apply it to the dacron tape that goes up against the sail. This is a 3-inch in width dacron tape that we'll be applying the 2-inch to. Peeling off the adhesive transfer tape to reveal the glue, and then baste it on top, centering it in the middle of that 3-inch dacron tape. And Deb will peel off the transfer tape as she bastes it on one side. Once that side's down, she'll peel it off of the other side, basting it in place. You can see that we started where we applied the Velcro about 2 inches or more away from the edge. That's because when we basted onto the leech of the sail here, we want to mark 2 inches in and start that pocket at that 2-inch mark.
And you want to make sure that you measure the 2 inches from the top, because if you measure the 2 at the bottom, depending on the angle on the edge of your sail, it could bring it out too close. Lay it on the sail.
The tape is laid on the sail, so those marks we just made are along the leech edge.
And then mark where the edge of your sail is.
This would be the luff edge.
And you want to bring this tape 3 inches from the edge. we're going to form a hem there. And we're going to need a 1/2 inch to fold under. Pull this up and cut this up with a 1/2 inch. And then you fold this up.
There's double-sided tape on the underside of this dacron tape, so the hem that she creates here
And
will
we're gonna
stick
sew that
nicely.
hem down.
Takes it over to the sewing machine and sews with a straight stitch. You could also sew with a zigzag if you like, just to secure that hem.
You want to start sewing here. Don't sew this down yet, leave this loose.
We'll only be showing the top full batten here. All the other full battens are constructed the exact same way.
Start here.
We're sewing a zigzag, reversing at the beginning, and we reverse at the end. We'll do the same thing to the opposite side. We'll now take the webbing that's included in your kit and cut it to 12-inch lengths for each full batten pocket. We're using a hot knife to seal the ends. You could use a wood burning tool, a soldering gun, or even a lighter if you don't have a hot knife. This webbing strap will be secured with Velcro to tension the batten. Be sure you use the corresponding hook or loop for this side of the pocket. This Velcro is cut to 5.5 inches. We've applied double-sided tape to the webbing to secure the Velcro in place, leaving an inch span at the beginning. That inch span will have the leech line secured on it. We're showing this in double time. We're just securing the leech line to the end of this webbing strip. Now we'll secure the Velcro in place with a box X stitch. A box X stitch holds well, but you could just run stitches around the perimeter of the Velcro if you like. Then we'll fold that 1-inch tail over and we'll sew on the 2 edges to create a pocket. This small 1-inch pocket on the end of this webbing strip will be used as the tensioning device for the batten. We'll be inserting a thinner batten into this small pocket end and push hard to basically apply tension to the full batten, just like this. We'll set the webbing strip that we just created to the side and concentrate on the batten pocket itself. We'll apply double-sided tape to the back side of this assembly so we can baste it to the sail. We'll apply it to this side and also the opposite side. As we discussed earlier, the computer plotter system put batten position marks on the sail, and we measured up and down from those batten positions to center the pocket, and then drew a straight line all the way across from batten point to batten point, with the points obviously being in the center of the pocket, and we based the pocket over those points. Cut off any excess fabric to trim the pocket to size. We'll now take it to the sewing machine and sew zigzags down both long sides of this pocket, securing it to the sail. Do not sew the end that includes the Velcro down yet. We'll do that a little bit later. No need to reverse the beginning and the end because tapes will conceal the ends of these tapes later on.
Now, so the back is you only have 2 stitches showing because these stitches were put on the tape prior to it. The way I like to do this is just line it right up with the Velcro so that this under here, and this will line down like so, and this will be folded at an angle this way to face the angle of the sail. then we'll be stitching this down here and here, staying back from the tapes.
We'll sew this webbing strip
We're
to the
doing
sail,
that.
ensuring that we're far enough away from the tapes that will be installed later along the edge. Deb's going to demonstrate this now.
Okay, so you got your narrow tape here that's going to go on the edge and the end. So when you have this under here and you line it up, you want to put your tacking lines on the inside so that it's not in the way of the tapes. Otherwise, if you sew this down, you're not going to get your tape underneath there. So you want to make sure that where your tape's going to fall, your stitches are within the distance.
We'll now take that over to the sewing machine and secure that webbing to the sail with a few zigzags. We'll do some reversing to lock it in place here, and we'll also move it over and do a little bit of reversing and forwarding right next to this stitching here. This secures it down very well.
Again, same within your mark.
Just stay away from your mark. And that's all there is to it. Now let's finish up this pocket.
Okay, so you need to move this in just a bit. So you make a mark.
Since the Velcro creates a bulk here and the batten will also be pushed through this pocket, we're going to create a little bit of an opening for the batten to be inserted.
We'll baste it down now.
We'll apply basting tape so that we can secure this with a little bit of an opening. We'll just move it over approximately 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch.
Mark right here, it's going to move it in. Same one here.
Alright, as you can see here, that creates a little bit of an opening
But it's almost in
for the
now.
batten and also the webbing strap to be secured into this pocket a little bit easier. We'll take it over to the sewing machine and sew down both sides just where that Velcro strip lays. We'll do some reversing when we run into the stitches that we started earlier. Right here. Now just because you use double-sided tape, there's a lot of bulk here. It may move on you, so you may want to check your work before you do the sewing. If things have moved, rebaste. Alright, now you know how to complete a full batten pocket. We'll be stopping here with the pocket and finishing up the remaining parts of each pocket at the end.